In at number 10, we have the Beelzebufo. But what actually makes this creature an underrated one? And actually, the main reason for this is simply because this creature isn't really widely used by many players for its main use, because there is another sort of implement in the Ark game which some people would think renders this creature useless, which is beaver dams. And if you didn't know, from beaver dams you can get all kinds of cementing paste and things like that, and when this thing kills an insect it will gather cementing paste. So people are like, well, I will just use beaver dams, I don't need to tame one of these things and spend just ages going out gathering insects. But the thing is, it is so much more reliable and efficient than using beaver dams, because sometimes beaver dams don't even spawn in. Ark is a buggy game after all, and you'll get significantly more cementing paste by using this method instead of getting out of beaver dams. You can get thousands and thousands and thousands within literal minutes, whereas with beaver dams, yes, maybe you can if you're in like a full kind of colony, but still, it stands. The Beelzebufo is the best cementing paste gatherer out there, and you really should tame one if you haven't used one already. Next up, we have the Castoroides. And have you ever heard of wood in Ark before? Well, if you have played Ark, you probably would have. And wood is such a useful resource, and if you're wondering how to get loads and loads of it, the Castoroides is your answer. This thing is an absolute beast at gathering wood, and yes, you could use a chainsaw, but you can get this thing from way earlier in the game compared to something like the chainsaw. And also, this does just have some other abilities as well. It's a great swimmer, and its saddle acts as a portable smithy, which barely any other creatures actually have as a claim to fame for them. And obviously this thing didn't release when Ark launched, but when it did, so many people were excited about this creature, and nowadays most people just forget about its existence overall, and they'll just use beaver dams for gathering cementing paste. But these things really are great gatherers of all things wood, and that is why I really think you should give these things a go, and you should tame them at some point and really use and utilize these things out there, and you'll be surprised how much wood they gather. And after you tame one of these things, you're not going to have wood problems anymore. Next up, we got the Mosa. And some people may be like, well, the Mosasaurus obviously isn't underrated. Like, this is just what I use for underwater exploration. And there are a lot of people like that. This is why this isn't so high up on this list. But still, in my opinion, the Mosasaurus does get a little bit of a bad rep, really, for just not being very useful. And albeit, you know, the Bastasaurus is a much better option for an ocean creature, and I'll usually go for something like a Megalodon, but that is also another underrated ocean creature. The Mosa still stands as a kind of mid creature for most people, and I think it does deserve a little bit more than that, especially considering the X versions as well, as they really do pack a punch. And if you've ever done the Moda, if you do it with X Mosas, you're going to have yourself a really good time. And there's few other creatures which really can do that boss as efficiently as possible. So think of the Mosa higher than you already do. In at number 7, we have the Bloodstalker. And the Bloodstalker, in my opinion, does have a bit of a bad rep as well. This creature just doesn't really get used outside of Gen 1, but it is extremely useful on Gen 2 and Arboration, you could say, as well. And even on maps like the Island and Ragnarok and Crystal Isles, its mobility and the fact that it's such a good ocean creature really can't be unwarranted. These creatures have a range of great uses, and if you have one on Fjorda as well, you're going to have yourself a really good time. As yes, the Desmodus exists, but between these two creatures you can tame loads of Bloodstalkers by farming blood bags with the Desmodus, and then using these things on Fjorda are great because they're really fast travelers as long as you know how to control them properly. And I'm not the best at this, but I have done the alpha mission for these creatures on Gen 1, so you know, I do have a little bit, but I am somewhat rusty, you could say, now, because I haven't really used these things all too recently. But these things are just so good for traveling. Like I said so many times, they're really quick, really efficient, and once you learn how to control it, you'll be zipping across the map faster than even Spider-Man, as you are now the true Spider. And also on Gen 1, they're great for gathering hexagons, again, for that racing mission. And I'm pretty sure just some other missions as well, apart from the race mission, use the Bloodstalker. So for gathering hexagons, it's useful to learn how to fly the Bloodstalker, as well as just some of the other creatures on Gen 1 or Gen 2 that are in racing missions, the Maywing for example. Next up, we have the Crystal Wyvern. And I don't know what it is, but people just don't really think of this as a proper wyvern in most cases, and it definitely is. But most people, they'll just go for the normal wyvern over the Crystal Wyvern. But actually, I vastly prefer this thing over the normal wyvern because of that taming method, and they're still really overpowered. And I'm pretty sure there's no real difference in stats over these creatures. And the Blood Crystal Wyvern just deals so much damage, it's insane. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of advantages to the Water Crystal Wyvern as well. I'm not sure, someone commented on my last video about this thing, and, you know, they definitely do have their uses as well. And the only real downside to a Wyvern is their really bad turning circle, which obviously these things still suffer from, but the fact on how easy they are to tame compared to the normal Wyvern, I think they really should be counted as some great tames, which I think everyone really should be going for, as they're so easy, they're so convenient to tame. Their passive tame literally being a passive tame. I don't know why I pluralized that in some way. Either way, they're a passive tame. Essentially what you do, you knock out a wyvern to get that primal crystal, then you just feed that to a wyvern, and then boom, you have yourself Crystal Wyvern. And there is a level 65 limit on the level, but it still is a really easy tame, which, you know, if you have Crystal Isles, you should really get stuck straight into. In at number 5, we have the Bionics, and this creature has somewhat taken a backseat since the Shadowmane launched on Gen 2, considering that this was the optimal caving creature, but now the Shadowmane is somewhat kind of beaten it in a way because it's smaller, it deals more damage, it's got more general abilities, and it is better in the water than the Baryonyx and all of that. It is essentially just like an upgraded Baryonyx, you could say, but still, this creature has an insane amount of use, especially on ASA at the moment, considering the island is the only real map out there and you don't have access to the Shadowmane. I know Svartalfheim is available on ASA as well, but I'm pretty sure that thing doesn't have the Shadowmane in it. Either way, no one is Shadowmaning, if that's even a verb, on ASA, and the Baryonyx has a lot of use at the moment, and even on older Ark as well. These things are still great for caving. It's not like these creatures' abilities have just been taken out of them completely. And with a right click ability which can stun creatures underwater, they're great for those underwater caves too. And although not as quick in the water as the Shadowmane, they still really are great swimmers. And if you have time to tame one and on a map where they spawn, definitely tame a Baryonyx. Now, the Spino, when it first came out, which I think was just when Ark released, actually, I don't think this was added any later. Either way, this creature was valued as pretty much a more powerful Rex back in the day, just a bigger, beefier creature, which people definitely really went for back in the day. And actually, I vastly prefer this creature over the Rex in like every single way. It is faster, it has more mobility, I'm pretty sure it deals more damage. The only downside to it is that lower health stat, but if you get some health mutations when breeding these things, you can have yourself a Rex-like healthed creature with insane mobility and slightly higher damage on top of that. And they're also great in the water too, which you really can't say about the Rex. That thing is absolutely awful in the water for all things. Whereas if you look here, that Spino is insane in the water, and with the hydration buff as well, it deals even more damage when in these circumstances. And it can go back onto its hind legs too, which really does benefit it for dealing damage. And it can turn 360 on the spot as well, which actually barely any Ark creatures can actually do. And it is a very nice ability to have, especially for a carnivore of this size. And you really don't see it out of like any other Ark creature apart from this thing, especially on the size scale. I know I have been saying that a lot. And here you can see that standing on a hind legs ability there, and it will deal even more damage to all of those creatures. Obviously, it's not going to move as fast, but it can still 360 on the spot, and with that extra damage, especially if you're near water with that hydration buff, if you're touching water, obviously, then you can deal insane amounts of damage to any creature, and they really are viable boss creatures as well, and I don't know why the Rex gets so much credit over them. In at number 3, we have the Mantis, and this creature, again, has kind of fallen in popularity recently, and I'm seeing less and less people talk about it, and actually, even myself, I've been talking about this creature less than I once did. But in fact, this is one of the best creatures out there for mobility and general versatility. These creatures are fast, like very, very fast, and the fact that they can wield any kind of melee weapon, not including tech, I'm pretty sure they can't wield that anyway, it really does have something to be said that these creatures are extremely useful. They can absolutely tear through creatures, especially if you've got ascendant weapons in the hands of them. And for the Manticore, if you put pikes in these things' hands, better than swords in my opinion. Are you a pike or a sword person? Comment that down below. You can have yourself a really, really great time in that boss fight. But on maps like Raasclark, they're just great for slashing up things like sheep and even larger creatures as well. Just sheep's a good example, as mutton is extremely easy to get on Raasclark, as the Ovis spawn very, very widely in the Highlands biome. And the way you tame one of these things is you want some bug repellent, you want a ghillie suit, then just passive feed them Deathworm horns or woolly rhino horns. On Scorched Earth, the map where they originally spawned on, those Deathworm horns are going to be your only option. In at number 2 is the Caro, and I always come back to the Caro on any underrated tier list. I think on all 3 of them, the Carnotaurus has appeared. Obviously, this is the 3rd one, if you can read the title. In terms of the Caro, though, I really think this does get a bad rep as a creature, because the Aloe is just the stronger and, for most people, just the more obvious choice of creature. And if you're that kind of person who just loves the Aloe, then just have the Aloe. I, for some reason, am different to those people, and I just really can't love the Aloe in the same way as the Caro. Maybe nostalgia driven, considering that I really heavily use these things back in the day, but I just feel more comfortable with a Caro. I feel like I know its abilities more, and I kind of feel more safe with that smaller scale, as I actually do vastly prefer smaller carnivores over those larger ones. The Spino is a bit of an exception though, as I did use that creature a lot back in the day, and I mainly use that for bosses, and for bosses, the Caro just simply isn't really enough for most things. Although I haven't done the Gamma Master controller with the Caros, so they definitely do pack a punch. And with that bleed ability as well, it really does make a difference. And they can absolutely slash through creatures and even aloes as well. Just if you get a good enough level, one of these things, you're going to have yourself a really great time. And although their weight isn't the best, you're not really going to be hunking loads of metal back with these things. And their stamina, speed, agility, size and damage, and their bleed ability are all things to really like about this creature. And they're ridiculously easy to tame as well, especially on ASA with those baby versions. You simply kill the parent and then press E, and the same goes for the Aloe as well. But I really think you should give this creature a chance. And in at number 1 is the Vonaur, and I've been replaying through Extinction and at the moment, and very recently you could say as well. And this creature really is an amazing one to me, and I don't know why people aren't talking about it so much. This is just a very mobility, what am I talking about? This is a very mobile creature. Can't even say any words because of just how good this creature is. It's a very mobile creature, which you maybe wouldn't expect considering its wealth of armor, but it also packs a punch in terms of its ability, which only it has, and I'm pretty sure no other Ark creature does have. And it literally fires turret bullets, not turret bullets, but its own spines into other creatures. And sadly, leveling up that melee won't enhance the damage of these turrets, but their stamina drain is one of the lowest in the game, so, you know, you can fire these things for absolutely ages. And if you do want to as well, level up that stamina even more, and you can just absolutely pelt turrets into creatures, and they really do a huge amount of damage. And with their just normal hack and slash abilities as well, and also their kind of spine shake, they are the best caving creatures on Extinction, and they're really great caving creatures as well, which most people don't give them credit for. And they're really good creatures in the combat scene as well, especially considering their small size. You could stay very hidden. But anyway, that is the end of today's video, and I really hope that you all enjoyed this one, as I did very much enjoy making it. As always, comment down below what is the most underrated Ark Tame in your opinion, and I will see you all later.